America and all of y'all in Cowboys Nation, my brother Ray Caesar Leo told y'all last week. I told y'all before he's the most unbiased Cowboys fan that I know. He calls it like he sees it on his team. And he was Negro dumbest last week with his take.
Indeed.
So it
Mike,
is on.
you need to put that hat on him and let him say a
Yeah.
couple quips like Paul Mooney used
Like
to.
Paul Mooney used to do. Respect. Rest in peace, Paul Mooney.
That'd be great.
Well,
Yeah.
it's only fitting that I let him have his piece today. Caesar,
Yes, sir.
what's the real on the Dallas Cowboys you got for us, man?
Did you see how and for Cowboy fans, I'm sorry, but we have to go back and address a couple of things. Did you see how shell shocked some of those guys were, man? Some of them were not, but a majority of them were shell shocked that they lost that game. When I see that, I immediately say, "What's wrong with you?" Because at the end of the day, this is the playoffs, man. And I've said it on this show, and I say it to anybody who will listen that wants to talk football. Once you get to the playoffs, everybody's good. I think Joe Burrow and the Bengals are showing you that. I think Joe and T's team is showing you that. It doesn't matter what your seeding is. Once you make it to the playoffs, everybody's good. They're either good at the level of play, scheme, or coaching. That's just how it works once you get to this part of the season. All right.
Right.
The Cowboys are built for the regular season. And that is okay when you are trying to win your division to guarantee yourself a spot in the postseason. That's okay. But when you're talking about making it to that next level, breaking through, it's not okay. It's not okay, man. I've said it time and time again. They haven't beaten a meaningful team all season. The one team that they beat that had some meaning was the Chargers. Well, they didn't make the playoffs. All right. So when you see all these teams that are in the playoff that the Cowboys have played, they have suffered against them. And some of it is that they're being outcoached. I'm not going to crush Mike McCarthy because I've crushed him enough on this show, but I will say some of it is that they were outcoached, especially in the game against the Niners. But a lot of it is this. It's entitlement. Here's what I mean by that. The problem is you expect to win without doing what it takes to win. So that's why it takes you so long to get warmed up. You don't turn up until the fourth quarter. You look good because you got the weapons, so you can come back on teams. But when it matters, and this is going to sound crazy, but when it matters is in the beginning of the game. You have to set the tone against playoff-ready teams in the beginning of the game to let them know you're not going to be able to do what you're accustomed to. That's just the name of the game. I've never played a down in the NFL, but I know that's true. Why? Because I watched the 49ers come into Dallas, and from first snap, they set the tone. So I know that to be true. When they played against the Rams, they set the tone. When the Rams played against the Cardinals, they set the tone. You see what I mean? Like, it's just, you let people know that what we do is going to be better than what you do, and it doesn't matter who plays for you. Dallas has a ton of stars, which means you pay a ton of money. Well, what's the point if you don't win? Now you just got a bunch of guys that are entitled. They feel like because of what they make and what their name says, then they should be entitled to a win. But dude, that's just because you play for the Cowboys. That has nothing to do with you. That's about the Michael Irvins and the Troy Aikmans and the Emmitt Smiths and the Leroy Jordans and the Roger Staubachs. You know what I mean? Like, I can do this all day.
Right.
That comes from them. Winning championships leads to the stardom. You just happen to wear the star. You know, I don't know if y'all remember, but last year when they, when we had a bunch of injuries and they finished last in the division or close to last in the division, I wasn't really flipping out about the losses. I was flipping out about the effort, about Tank Lawrence getting on social media and complaining about, we don't have our best squad, or he's talking all this trash the night before the game, but then doesn't put in the effort. Effort comes from culture. When your culture tells you you're entitled, you play like it. That's just the reality. Jerry Jones sets the tone. It starts with ownership and works its way down through GMs and coaches and assistant coaches to players. You can have the best players in the world, and it doesn't matter if you don't have the attitude, the culture of winning. That's what it is. And I think sometimes they get so caught up in the fact that we do have all of this talent and we look just like the Cowboys of old. But you have to remember that Michael Irvin was maniacal in his work ethic. You have to remember that Emmitt Smith might have been a first-round draft pick, but people literally told him, like, dude, you're too small to play in the NFL. So he had a chip on his shoulder. You know what I mean? So, like, these guys that you see that you think they were destined for stardom, no, these guys were dogs. They worked at that. Yeah. I don't see the same thing. So that's why it was easy for me to call it like I see it, man. Because when I see a hungry team like Joe and T's team, and they show up, and some people might say, well, they're playing with house money. They just got in the playoffs. No, that's not the case. These guys are just hungry, and they grind, and they got smart coaches, and they got a smart GM. Like, that's what it looks like. That's what it looks like. Everybody doesn't have Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, right? So you just have to figure it out. You have to know you got to be good all the time.
Having that ain't doing nothing for me.
It is. And here we go.
Yeah,
I apologize.
America. We still it's still a little touchy in here right now, man. Still a little touchy right now. It's fine.
I apologize down here.
But seriously though, man, like do y'all get what I'm saying? And like I know y'all do, but it's just one of those things where I look at it like this. It doesn't matter to me if when Dallas and San Fran or Dallas and Green Bay or anybody, if they play, to me, it doesn't matter who's the better team in the beginning of the game. I didn't walk into the San Francisco game thinking that the Niners were better than the Cowboys. I didn't. I felt that we had the better team, but who cares? Who cares?
Right.
Who has the better game plan? Who has the better coaches? Who knows how to utilize their impact players the best?
Right. I got you. Yeah,
that's just what it is to me, and I don't overreact on it. I just see it for what it is. I saw that we had a bunch of gaudy stats where we dropped 50 on teams that really don't even matter, and I know that other people say, well, Ray, the Eagles made the playoffs. Did they really, or did they just fill that last spot that the NFL created on this expansion of the playoffs? That's all it is. The Eagles made the playoffs and left the playoffs just like that.
Hey man, I feel you. This is my thing on the Cowboys, and you know we've talked about McCarthy enough. I think it's pretty obvious what they got to do there. But I think it's time to move off of Zeke. I think it's time to give Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard should have gotten way more touches in that game against the Niners, in my opinion.
Yeah, four
carries and 2 catches is not enough for a guy that explosive, that fast, with that kind of, you know, he ain't Debo, or he's not. They're not going to use him that way, but you give him enough touches to see what kind of effect he can have. He ran the ball at a better clip per carry than Zeke did. Zeke had 12 touches.
Yeah.
So I tend to think they need to move off of Zeke. Now I get you got a lot of money locked into him, but I just don't see. Like you said, that like you talk about the hunger.
Yeah,
Zeke is the first guy I look at, in my opinion, when it comes to the hunger. I think he runs lax. I don't think he has ran as hard as he did beginning of his career.
Yeah.
I really do think they need to move off of Zeke some kind of way, in my opinion.
It's tough, man. It's tough because, you know, I watch Zeke now and I see a guy that is damaged goods. I hate to say that because that brother has given a lot to that organization, right? But he played with a torn ligament second half of the season, and what people want to pat him on the back for that, I'm like, that's stupid. I'm just telling you, like that's a bad move because you are not at your best, but we keep giving you the ball like you're at your best. Again, that's not smart. That's not smart. I'll tell you what else is not smart. Your teams, the Packers, the 49ers, you know who your best players are. You know who your playmakers are.
It don't matter for me over here, though.
See, here we go.
They don't play big in the big moments. My bad.
but like for me, there's an identity crisis because what the Cowboys are accustomed to, even in recent history, is changing. People still think Zeke Elliott is the best running back. Well, he's the best pass blocking running back.
Right.
But he's not the best running back. People still think Amari Cooper is the best receiver. Even Amari Cooper still thinks he's the best receiver. So he's complaining about him not getting enough touches. The best receiver in that game got 1 catch and 5 attempts. That's CeeDee Lamb. Man, you got to face facts. So when you have an identity crisis, you can't game plan properly because you're trying to please people who really don't deserve that seat.
Right.
There was one guy that played his tail off the entire game when we played against the 49ers. That was Micah Parsons. He's the only person that should walk around with his chest out like, I've done something meaningful.
Okay.
Because every game that he's played, doesn't matter who he's played against, he's dominated the competition.
All right, great segue. Because
Yeah.
I just
Yeah, go
sent
ahead.
Joe something that Parsons tweeted out. Somebody hit him with some tape from the 49er Cowboy game,
Yeah.
in which he got off a block by a wide receiver when made a play. Now, I sent that to Joe because Joe has sent me another play in which he didn't get off a block.
Yeah.
And y'all scored. I'm talking about Joe team. 49ers.
Yeah.
They scored a touchdown on. And so what Michael Parsons was saying is that, yeah, that's in the tweet. He was saying that's the same play that they scored on early in the game, and so I made my adjustment and everything.
That's right.
So I was checking out his timeline. I'm just trying to see, okay, how's this young cat dealing with taking this loss? You know what I'm saying? I see him campaigning for Rookie of the Year. I see him talking about the tape and everything like that. And then so it got me thinking, is this young dude really feeling the sting of the loss?
Yeah.
Or is he doing like my quarterback does? Long as he win the MVP, he gonna be Gucci. Like, cause that's what happened last year. He be straight. And not only Micah, your team as a whole, because no matter what y'all do over there, y'all gonna be the most popular team in the world.
Yeah,
do you think you got guys on that team like a Jordan, like a Tom Brady?
Yeah.
I get at the Brady. He seems to despise losing.
He does.
He despises losing. You got some guys that hate to lose over there for real.
I think we got guys that hate it, but not enough. Again, I think it starts at the top. Jerry Jones will tell you that he hates losing the hill, that he's ashamed of the amount of money that he is willing to pay for a Super Bowl, but that's not how it works.
Hello, what you tell me the other night about what he said? I can't remember the last time I was this disappointed.
Yeah, you can. Last year. I mean, but that's what I'm saying, man. Like, you have to remove emotions from it. It's either one or two things. The NFL is one or two things, for real, y'all. America. It's either a business or it's a game. It's both, really. But depending on what your position is in the organization, it's a business or it's a game. Jerry Jones don't lose in business. His teams lose all the time, but he makes a ton of money. Every year, his team is the most profitable team in the NFL, right? So it's the game that you don't really care anything about. Forget what you say. What is it that you do? For the players, they know, like Wells just said, no matter what, you're going to be one of the most popular teams. You're still going to play in primetime games because you're the Dallas Cowboys. Now, for me, that's fine because I'm just a fan. But when your career is over, are you okay with just having these TV spots or just being a Cowboy favorite? It is different when you are Michael Irvin on NFL Network and ESPN or Troy Aikman on Fox. Yeah, you can be Romo, but Romo's a good-looking guy that played the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. They're not giving Tank Lawrence a job after this is over. Like, you have to figure out what your niche is, man. And if you are a competitor, this should be it. I see a guy like Michael Parsons, and I see his drive. I have seen him from week one get mentally abused by Tom Brady. And then at the end of the season, watch him be one of the top defensive players in this league already. That's promising for me, but that's also shameful because that shouldn't be the case for this 20, 21, 22-year-old kid. It should be somebody on this team that says, let me coach you up, man. It shouldn't be the other way around. You know what I mean? I see a guy like Trayvon Diggs soaking up that limelight. Rightly so. He's at 11 picks. But I also watched him. This is no disrespect to y'all's receiver. I didn't know the guy's name before we played him. I know him now, Brandon Ayuk, respect, right? But at the same time, I should not be looking at an all-pro defensive back get beat on double moves consistently by a guy that I've never heard of. That has nothing to do with talent. That has everything to do with preparation and drive. Who preps him? Coaches. Who drives you? You drive yourself. Never been a coach a day before in my life, but I know those two things to be true. Right? You have to decide at some point, are you okay with just being the limelight franchise or what? Now, America's probably going to say, no, they're okay with being the limelight franchise. It'll show every year. every year we do this. These boys will tell you on this screen, America. It used to be when the Cowboys would lose like this, I'd flip out. I'd be all over the place.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
it is what it is, because you can't do the same thing every year and expect different results. What they call that, America? Insanity.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
2 quick points.
Yep.
And y'all said this earlier. You cannot have 2 guys that's supposed to be considered the best on the team soaking up all that money, which is Zeke and Amari Cooper, and they're not the best on the team. Like, you cannot do that. Yep. Also, about you saying entitlement, right? When did Jerry declare them America's team?
It wasn't even him that did it. That happened way back in the 70s.
Right.
With Tex Schramm, GM of the Cowboys, back in the Gap, and that was just a slogan. Now it
Right.
stuck, right? It's a branding tool. It's an amazing branding tool. It's the way that I found out who the Dallas Cowboys are. But the problem is they have bought into this idea, and I think this is your point you're about to make, Joe. They have bought into this idea that no matter what, you're always going to be on top.
Exactly. The whole relation of America, being that we are in America and you're on America's team, it's like, hey, but they don't understand that the whole phrase America's team, it was the loudest when y'all were winning Super Bowls.
Correct.
Like, that's when it was the loud. For some reason now, at the beginning of the year, the phrase America's team is the loudest, and part of it is media driven.
No doubt.
But it's the fact that the players are like buying into it. Yeah. And as you said, Jerry don't lose in business. And it looks like that really, although he say he'll pay all this money for a Super Bowl, Jerry would really flip out if he lost in business. Yeah. He could win a Super Bowl, but if he loses in business, he's going to flip out.
So you think like if the Patriots, like when they were on their run, would have surpassed them as like the most profitable team, he would have been like,
he would have lost his mind.
Then he would have done something.
Then something would have changed. Maybe not with the production on the field, but with his marketing and business deals, no question.
That's crazy. Them boy won 6 Super Bowls and still didn't surpass y'all.
And still did.
That's crazy, bro.
That is the amount of work. That is the amount of work that he puts into his personal craft to be the best at what he does. You cannot deny that fact. I can't stand Jerry Jones, but you can't deny that fact. Here's the sad part about it. We can put a bow on it like this. Here's the sad part about it. Dak and Zeke, these aren't guys that are 3 years in the league anymore. I know we look at them like that. We still think they're young. Zeke's career is closer to the end than it is the beginning. That's a reality check. All right. Dak Prescott, by year contract, is the highest paid quarterback in the league and has nothing to show for it. All right. The faces of this team, if somebody outside of the Cowboys organization would say, what do you think the value of these guys is? They would say, it's worthless. You have overpaid for everything that you think is meaningful. Everything that you hype up on the Dallas Cowboys, you've overpaid for it. So now you're stuck with it. Nobody wants Zeke. Nobody's looking for Dak Prescott when you can take Ryan Tannehill and go to the playoffs. Joe Burrow is in year 2. Really year 1.5 because he tore his ACL and is in the AFC Championship with not a real defense, a decent running back, and a stud receiver. AFC.
The franchise is the Bengals at that.
The franchise is the Bengals, and we have trashed the Bengals for years.
Oh, y'all making my nephew day, Lord have mercy.
And they figured it out.
Yeah, they did.
They figured it out because they made a conscientious decision to say we are going to do things differently moving forward.
Well, America, y'all chime in, particularly Cowboys Nation, and tell us how y'all felt about this past year for the Dallas Cowboys and what do y'all think needs to transpire moving forward for them to really get over the hump in Big D.
And America, come with something real now. Don't say fire Mike McCarthy. That's not gonna happen. So you got to come with something real. What can really be done?
They might want that, Caesar. They might want that.
Well, it's not gonna happen, America. What can really be done? Listen. I want Jerry Jones.
Why you just gonna tell America that?
I'm not gonna say what I want Jerry Jones to do.
All right. Oh,
because
yes. Because we got.
I'm not
money
gonna do that.
pick.
I'm
Don't do
not
that.
gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that
All
because
right.
Jerry.
No.
I'm not gonna do that.
Thank
So
you.
it's not about what I want. It's about what's feasible. That ain't feasible, Cowboy Nation. So bring me something that is worth it. Otherwise, don't bother us on this show with no foolishness. This is a real show. This is a real show.
Oh, boy,
y'all hit us up.
That's the race season right there.
He's starting to turn up right now.
There it is.
Y'all hit us up with some foolishness on trading for Aaron Rodgers. Blah, 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 blah. We're not going to read that on the air.
So come on with the come on.
If y'all want to come with something real,
I'll
even
read it on the air. They said trade Dak for Aaron Rodgers.
Just crazy stuff. The amount of foolishness is out here right now.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Bring us something, and I'll read it on the air next week. I'll read it on the air.
Oh, that's
y'all bring us something.
Right.
Hit us up. If it's real, even if you got a problem with what I say, you're probably wrong, but bring it anyway, and I'll read it on the air. Cowboys Nation, hit us up. Let us know what's going on.
There it is. Put it on something. My kids wanted me to tell y'all to make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow me across all social media platforms, like the videos, and share them. Did I forget anything?
And turn on the post notifications.
Y'all heard them. And also, visit Statement Tees, LLC.com and shop with us. That's Statement Tees. Every t-shirt you wear
makes a statement.